Welcome to DLPT. Youth Voice. Joining me tonight is the cultural ambassador, Mr. Cavil Best. And next to him will be Mr. Delro, the candidate for the city of Bridgetown. And to my right is Damien Fanus. Our topic for tonight is the stifling of creative expression. When you think of creative expression, you think of our thoughts, emotions, ideas, our culture. We think of dance, we think of music, and we think of visual arts and a lot of other things. So as the cultural practitioner among us tonight, the one with a lot of experience, my first question would be to Cavil Best. What was culture like back in your day?
Well, growing up, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, I came up in my area, which is in St. Peter, Rowe. I remember my grandmother and my mother, they were members of the church army, All Saints Church Army. And they used to go around when the church used to have these celebrations of various church armies. And they would carry the bomb drum, which is the bass drum and the killer drum. They would journey with these people from St. Peter to wherever the celebration is. What we call like a gathering.
Okay.
Yeah. The different church armies from all Anglican churches. So sometimes I used to go through and listen to them, playing the drums and singing the songs and all that. Like all the four and come in and hear songs, all those beautiful religious songs. So then they had the Barbados launching. In my area, they called the Queen Victoria. And had a man that even come back. He was the commander of the, and a lot more individuals from in my area. And that launching was well organized when it comes to being uniform and all of that. And then there was the donkey man in my area as well, where there's a man dressed with a posterior and a paper mache hat with a triangular hat, a whip in the sand, a mask on. That guy, I think his name was Chacho, that used to dance it. And then I had another man named Bunny, and then another man named Gadget. On the street, guys used to dance the donkey man. And everybody used to look forward to seeing that around Christmas and Easter, particularly. But they used to come around even for independence. We used to have those characters and the top band, And then we also have the church, the Salvation Army. We used to come in my area too by a shop, Mr. Watson, on Saturday nights. So everybody used to look forward to that on Saturday nights, and they go and listen to the church army playing the drums and playing the trumpet and all of that. So that was going up in the 60s and the 70s and so on. That is a little piece of it.
No problem. You have a dance group that is called Dance National Afrique. Could you tell us a bit about what your group offers?
Right. No, the Dance National Afrique came about in 1987. We were part of the Tyrone dance group and Gandhi International. Tyrone Chapman was the person was instrumental in the formation of Dance National Afrique. And that was, I call it part of Taiwan in 1982. Before that, I was a part of the Cavil. That's a group from St. Philip. That was based at the Smart School. There's a man named Osbert McLean. He was the person in charge of that group. And I had a lot of people in there, like in Bill Gazettes. And there's another guy named, I'm trying to remember, either Carter and Lloyd and all those fellas. And Philip St. Hill, who was I think he was the, Philip St. Hill, he was something in government. I can't remember what it is. But Philip was also part of that. And then before Dance National Africa came about.
Okay.
So then it was also part of the Barbados Dance Theater, before Dance National Africa came about. With Jim Carson, all those guys, and the character, Denise Morse, all those people were with them, and Sharon Troutman. And also Barbara Garner. These are people that give me the drive and momentum to
encouragement
to start Dance National Africa. And we formed it with some brothers, myself, Anthony Nelson, but he's deceased now. Timothy Basket, deceased. And there's another guy, African guy named, Nigerian guy named Michael Okoro. But he's not with us anymore, he's back in Nigeria. And from time to time, we were, going strong, and Conrad Torn also a part of the group.
Yeah.
But then as he went into politics, he was a very good writer.
I think Amoy was also a part, Amoy Gildenborn, she was also part of it. I think she mentioned that.
Yeah. There were so many people that came to the group. Jennifer Seeley, all this. We were all working together. You may hear things people say, the reference on the isn't that? We want to do more.
Okay.
So we extend, And then we all work, going doing it together and dancing Africa together. We all worked together through the years in the 80s and the 90s and so on. Even up to now, we still work together, And we've been places, the US, Canada, Spain, traveling the Caribbean, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, showcasing the Barbadian cultural products.
Okay, so when you travel to these different countries, what part of the Barbados product do you showcase in these countries?
Or heritage, which is the landship, which is traditionally Barbadian. We also showcase the talk, which is unique to Barbados, and we also showcase the different dance styles that we have here. But we have our own styles,
Which are?
Yeah, before dancing, like Miss Matty, and you have
never heard of it.
John Belly, all those 4 characters. We used to we get the different choreographers to put things together, movements together, and tell stories about this people.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to touch with the younger folks here on the panel right now. You've heard him talk about the different dances just now. Are you familiar with any of these things that he mentioned?
Other than probably just seeing the Mother Sally, that's probably the only thing that I probably would remember seeing on TV and and stuff. In terms of our festivals, and you see, to be honest, I didn't even know that we had dance art forms, to tell the truth.
Yeah,
I did not know that, but I'm glad to know that now.
Dill?
Yeah, I am pretty familiar with the Mother Sally and the Stout Walkers, and what I used to love watching was the landship. So as a boy growing up, I think that the landship was the thing that you really watched at primary school.
That's what stood up. Yeah, for sure.
That was stood up.
Okay.
In secondary school as well, the landship was it. I think that we need to look at pushing it more, to be honest. I don't really think that young people now really connected with the
No,
language.
no.
Yeah.
I don't think we know anything really about the history of these art forms. So you spoke about the Mother Sally. What is the history behind the concept of the Mother Sally?
Many people here with the Malissa. Malissa, I just said the donkey man first. This is now the male person, in this costume, and he carries a posterior. And you hear people say that a man used to do Malissa before. No. Malissa tells the fertility of the woman. Well endowed. See?
See.
And Malissa came about in the late 80s, but the donkey man was all in the 60s and the 70s. Like the difference between the Malissa and the donkey man. And then they had a speed donkey, which is another character. Then you see someone carrying a donkey, and dancing it and all that. So the Shaggy Bears also, people say they just came about, but them were around family also in the 80s. And then it's the men, where we call them Uncle John Bees and the Daddy Long Legs. One of them used to, boys used to go and cut some wood, some long poles, wood, get on them and walk on them, But in Africa, they have different meanings, different symbols and so on.
Okay. Green monkeys, okay.
That a green monkey? The monkeys were mischievous. That came about in the late 90s, and you have guys like Michael Tate. He's a regular actor, dancer, and he have taught all the youngsters to tumble and so on. And he was responsible for the green monkey character.
Okay. So you are known for drumming. Could you give us a little history of the different drums that you have and the top band as well?
I learned the drumming from my mother. That's the bass drum. I'm the master of the bass drum. There's no one programming. It's a language.
Yeah.
Once you know the language of drum, you understand the language, you speak it. So you speak the language of the drum to the drum. The drum responds. People have to learn that. People just play. They must know the language of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you call the language of the drum?
Call and respond. You look at it. You hear the beat coming in your mind. So you speak it. That's the bass. You get it. Like that. So you respond to that. You speak a language. That used to be done years ago. The drum is a language. Drumming is a language.
Yeah.
So you have the various beats, and the top bar, you have the fussy, the waltz, and the top. So then you start with the waltz, then you get the fussy, and then you get the tuck. So the tuck is sweet. People love the tuck. The fussy, the tan 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 tan, and then the waltz. Tan 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 tan. The drill. So, but when the people hear the talk, we have the talk is kill the bass and the flute leads. You have to try, to give a little melody, So then all together give it that big sound. We are going to modify. We put some horns to it.
Okay.
Trumpet and saxophone and so on, give it a big sound. Now we have the steam pan into it. So you incorporate everything into the two. Now, when you get that song, we're going to play correct. If you don't play correct, everything will just go. So you have the first skill, you have a second skill with the van. You bring it all together, and people enjoy it. It is sweetest rhythm, you can ever want to hear. Hey, next, anybody move?
Move, yeah,
People
yeah,
come on.
yeah. I remember when we were at the nomination for Felicia in St. James North,
Yeah.
and you were there with the top band.
Yes.
It was like a different Cavil.
Well, yes. So, I had to take control of that. Because this was something different. You know? So this one I played to, this will send a message. You know? Let people know, look, it's time that we have to stop what's happening in this country. You know? And speak the language. Let the government know that we are not doing what they're supposed to do. We are making them too comfortable.
So you're using the drum to send that message?
Send that message to them.
Okay. So you spoke about culture back then. So what are your thoughts about the culture now?
Or the culture now. No, I find that the culture today, you know, is dying. And when the culture dies, people die. You know, and we have to say about that. The government doesn't understand the rule. Culture plays in the lives of our people. You know? Even if they don't understand, they're not taking it serious. And you find that people today, that the creatives, the artists, you know, they are losing it. They just the one thing is that young people come into dance classes and rehearsals and so on, and you can't get them to go home at all. Everybody want to be there to the end. No, you can't get them. They're not coming.
All right, we have a comment online from Andrew Brooms. Each rhythm was used to express feelings or moods. Therefore, according to Cavil, the drum reveals a language.
Yes, that's right.
So continue to tell us about the culture that you're seeing now.
So we are now losing everything that we have. Culture. Culture and morals go together. You find that what we are seeing in the crop over and so on, where people today, you're not seeing what we used to see back in the 60s and the 70s, that respect and that we used to have for our people and our elderly. No, it's not there anymore. And culture plays, as I say, culture plays a significant role in our lives. You know? So I find that we have to really look at ourselves and ask ourselves where we are going, actually.
Okay, so Dale, for you, as a young man, I know you said that you are aware of certain things that are linked to our culture. What are your thoughts about the culture that you're seeing in today's society?
When we look around society, it speaks. Culture is not in the society because crime has taken over. When you look at the young Black men, we are committing some serious crimes. I remember like 17 years ago, a group of us used to be in the area together, writing music and farming music. You know, either we got guys making beats, guys writing music, guys drumming, and we then focus our time and attention to that, because then we had a household where you know, you don't really have to contribute that much. But now, if cost of living is so high, me as a creative in this climate today, I cannot focus on writing music because it's hard for me as an upcoming artist to write music and to actually be paid for my product.
Okay.
So a lot of young people that left school with no qualifications, they decide, you know what, I want to pursue a career in music. How is that person going to survive?
So you're saying that currently it is very, very difficult to have a livelihood from the arts.
Yes, if you're not known.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, so the big names can always get the bookings, but I sympathize with the youngsters, you know, because we have some very creative youngsters as it relates to hip hop. Where's the platform for hip hop in Barbados?
Non-existent.
None.
Yeah.
I mean, where's the platform for R&B? We have some of the best singers in the Caribbean right here. How can we help those young individuals, you know, make a living from arts? Rather, we then rather focus on killing people for things, as opposed to, you know, putting actual things in place to
Stimulate the creative mind.
to help the creative mind.
Mhm.
You know, like a recommendation, you know. If I was on the committee, I would not approve 14 X amount of $1 million, X amount of million of dollars just to hold a party. I would create a program where that we can embrace all of these creative minds. That then gonna help with the crime, because the old guy get robbed from his vehicle. Another robbery happened today with another vehicle. A guy robbed a food place yesterday in All Black. You know, so they had some serious robberies over the past couple of days. So my thing to that is the youngsters of today, they're not being creative. They can't express themselves, because people use arts as a
way of expression.
Yeah. Because I might be going through a situation and I can write about it. It can be poetry. I can write about, you know, what I'm experiencing in the form of poetry, song, dance, acting. But how can I make a living from that?
Okay. So, Fanus, Damien.
Yes, please.
Why would you say is the creative expression important in society?
It's that intellectual output to your art, your artistic creative mind. Is important because it sends a message. If you look at the world, like, seeing that we're now becoming more globalized, creative expression has also been a form of protest. It's been a form of telling people how you feel and letting them know that something is not right, or something is going good, or, you know, something along the lines of that. You want to show the world that this talent breathes life into whatever space it lives in. I believe that the creative expression is important because this is how you express how you feel about what is going on around you at that time, at that space, at that juncture. If it is stifled or if it's silent, then it has nowhere to go. And if it has nowhere to go, then if you're someone who is a creative that makes money from it, then you can't make money from it. You can't make a living off of it. So it's important because it's an avenue for people to express themselves and let people know how they feel. And it's also a way of living. So it has to be fostered, and it has to be, in a sense, breathed life into for it to take flight into whichever avenue would foster that creative mind in that sense.
All right. Cavil, with a long history of culture, would you encourage individuals right now to get involved in arts?
Yes.
Why?
We gotta tackle them at the primary level, which is the primary schools. I think that's where we have to go. Prepare them from here. Because right now, we are losing our young people to violence. And we want to look at the justice problem. We should go into the schools, the primary schools, and start there and prepare them from there. Get them to understand the potentials, the creative potentials, get them to develop them, and know that culture can make you somebody in life, and it may be somebody. I have respect for those that guided me, coming up. I lost my mom early.
Mm-hmm.
I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
He said, look, I got to find something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for Tyrone Chapman. He was my mentor.
He was another drummer?
No, Tyrone was a dancer.
Okay.
Tyrone was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrone took a lot of us, myself and Mark Vaughan,
Mm-hmm.
and Timmy Ellison, Timothy Prescott. He guided us. We started organizations and so on. I can remember the principal right now at law school, Stephen Chapman, was also part of that organization.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And we had Leroy Chapman and Sir Roy Chapman,
Mm-hmm.
who was also part of the organization, Dr. Ray Thompson,
Mm-hmm.
and Weston Graham. All these people came into the organization where we were developing the entire Washall by all communities,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And Tyrone took the art form throughout Barbados, going to all the communities and trying to develop young minds and so on through culture.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I believe that if we go into the schools and prepare these young people and get them to understand the importance of culture and how we can shape their lives and
Mm-hmm.
chisel, and we can take them and chisel them and mold them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and make sure that they become well-rounded
Individuals.
citizens, you know, instead of allowing them to go on the blocks
Mm-hmm.
and do things that we don't want them to do.
But the reality is, you just mentioned that we're not making a living from the arts.
Yes.
Dale spoke about the high cost of living, and that it's very hard for individuals to focus on just sitting down and playing an instrument or, you know, painting, and you're not getting anything from it financially.
Before COVID came,
Mm-hmm.
we were working in events.
Mm-hmm.
My group worked in San Diego for over 14 years,
Mm-hmm.
and COVID came and then all that stuff. My group worked in Elegant
Mm-hmm.
over 25 years,
Yeah.
you know. So there's work in there
Mm-hmm.
in the arts, but we have to get back there, you know,
Okay.
and we can go back there. We have to tackle these industries,
Mm-hmm.
the hotel industry, the cultural industries, that because I believe they're a cultural bill,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that we took and put on the back burner. I think it was developed by the former government,
Mm-hmm.
former administration, the back in 2012, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
We need to look at it so we can, you know, we can introduce it again and have these young people in employment. I believe there's employment in culture. You know, a matter of fact, in performance. All we have to do is put some money into it. And that leaves to the government and private sector to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you mentioned tourism and working in the hotels. You also work on cruise ships. So could you tell us a bit more of the arts from a tourism perspective?
Right. We were working in cruise ships in the 90s. The Kuna Countess,
Mm-hmm.
the Trinary 2, the Cree 2, Kona, we named them. The sequences, I think,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the Black Watch. But whenever these ships dock in port, we used to be performing on the ships. And I believe there's still some people that are performing on these cruise ships whenever they come here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we have been performing every time these ships dock here. Whether we perform on ships
Mm-hmm.
or we perform in the port.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do many concerts at the Barbados cruise terminal.
Mm-hmm.
From the 90s till now.
Mm-hmm. So what part of the arts was the main performance that is usually requested from the tourists?
dance,
Mm-hmm.
Stephen,
Mm-hmm.
you have the
Speak up.
the characters as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they increases many requests, dancers and fair eaters and limbo, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we produce those things.
Okay. All right. Could you tell us a little bit about the process, the creative process? Because if you're performing, let me say, once a week for 3 months straight, you need to be creative. You have to bring something different each night. So what is the process that you go through with the brainstorming, the planning, the experimenting? You know, what process do you go through as an artist?
When people get the product, finished product, they don't appreciate that.
Mm.
But it's a lot of work.
Mm.
The rehearsals and the classes and so on, and getting everybody to come together and work. You know, it's hard to get people to come to practice sometimes.
Yeah.
And when they do come, you have to get them know into that frame of mind. You
Mm-hmm.
know? And some people come from work, they're
Tired.
tired. You got to try and energize them and so on,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to try working with them,
Mm-hmm.
motivate them.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know we have to get shit done. We need to sit down to perform tomorrow. So sometimes people go to rehearsals 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, and so on. We have that product ready. And then comes the payment. People don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
They want to give you what they should give you.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have a lot of people who go there and the money. Since something costs $10, I want to go and do it for $3. No, they worth more than 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the buyer,
It's not hitting the table.
when the buyer say, look, I can go with the one that say $3. So you do have a good product. You lost. You have been preparing all week, putting your package together, and then the buyer said, no, we don't want you. I got somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't tell you anything. So we just hoping that they'll call you. So the preparation is it's really tough. Getting people to come to practice, getting to understand the importance of it, because you want to make sure that you present something good
Mm-hmm.
and tangible for the buyer.
Yeah. So the importance of originality will come into play, because this, you need to be original. What sets you apart from your competitors? What sets you apart from the other drummers? You said that you are the best drummer in Barbados. So what sets you apart from everybody else? What is the Cavil's brand?
Yeah, no. We look at what people do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to do something good. Right? You can do it better.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be more creative, more dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So your top group. And the thing is that this guy is good, this group is really good, but we can do better than that. So we have to look at what we can do that's better than what our groups are offering. And because some groups are just string movements together, present it, but movements be good. Not us. You got to bring a story, So that's the importance. The story is what is going to sell you, going to make you better than the other side. So when you bring something that, wow, you want to hear how wow, that means they want you.
So what goes into telling this story?
Look at what we have.
Mm-hmm.
We do research.
Mm-hmm.
Look at things that happened before, things that happen now.
Mm-hmm.
And we tell those stories,
Mm-hmm.
in dance,
Mm-hmm.
in the music. I remember there was a lady there's in the 90s, a lady in St. Lucie, I lost her daughter. That's why I'm crying.
Okay.
And Ralph wrote this story about this lady's daughter, and Ralph, the story was for Editha and Rocky. Now we took that to the US. And because the lady said, when we were there, because we had a retreat at St. Lucie School, and the lady said, this is different. Man, label the place. Because she was all depressed because of losing her daughter, to that point. And when that happened, Ralph read and started writing. And he wrote the story, that piece, that choreography for Editha and Rocky. And there was this guy that performed Rocky from the road. I think he's in England right now. He performed the piece of Rocky. And someone did Editha. So the story was there. And he took that to the US. And I believe that the piece is still there, shelf. But if you want to bring it back again, the group can do it. Dance in Africa. DNA can do it as well. But Ralph is so busy now trying to rescue Barbados from crime, from everything that is sinking this country. Ralph is trying to do it. And we are happy that we have such a man, among us.
Such a leader.
Yeah, a leader, a director, a guy, everything, that can bring us together again, nurture this country back to where it was years ago.
Many individuals often link mental health to creative expression. Like Dale, you mentioned it earlier. If you're feeling down, you listen to music sometimes to uplift you. So, as an individual, what creative methods do you use to uplift your mental status, your mental health?
So like when I have a challenging day or I have a challenging situation, so my creative method is this pen. And with this pen, I start to list the challenges, and then I flip the coin and I start to list the things that happen that is good.
Positives. Yeah.
And then with those positives, I then simply do, I am grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. And as it relates to creative, so while writing that, I can end up write a song. I can end up write poetry because I like writing.
Okay.
So how I would deal with any challenges or any issues is feel a rhythm. Because I remember when I was 15, I was going through a hard time. And what helped me through that time was writing motivational music. So I wrote music in such a way that it inspired me, and I used to perform that particular piece. And I think that piece was called, can't even remember right now, but I have some videos, I share them. But, writing music at that point would have helped me personally. So I know that the arts, a lot of persons go through different situations and challenges, and the best way to express themselves is either through dance, singing, poetry. What I know for a fact is that when we look at today's society, where are the outlets? Where's the outlet? There's no outlet for us as Black males.
Well, some people may use therapy,
Correct.
to hash out their feelings or what's not. We spoke about the crime earlier. So, as a black man, let me go to Damien.
Mhm.
As a black young male,
Mhm.
if you're feeling angry, you have this burst of anger rushing to you. You feel like you want to hit somebody, you want to shoot somebody, you want to kill somebody. How can you use the creative arts? How can you use the arts to mitigate that?
I tell people, well, for me, right, because in my profession, there are instances where things might not go your way.
Mhm.
An argument you prepared might get shut down. You might not be as successful as in, trying to get what your client wanted in regards to her or his remedies.
Mhm.
I tell people, if you have music that you listen to,
Mhm.
headphones, or earpods, just put them in.
Mhm.
Because for me, I like listening to Bajan artists. There was one time I came across an artist named Ted Hickson.
Hickson.
Yes.
Ted.
What genre is that?
I think he hip hop.
Okay.
He has a
Mhm.
song named Bible Q.
Mhm.
When I tell you, when I first heard that steel pan, right? The song, it's not heavy on the bass, right? But that steel pan and that the way it was arranged, I mean, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And then I came
Mhm.
across other artists like Peter Cox and Lord Gabbs, and whenever I come across a new on my Instagram, I might just promote them, put it in a status and stuff like that. But when you have a bad day, I listen to music,
Mhm.
and I try to keep it local. You get me? I try to keep it local. Try not to listen to the more heavy genre in terms of like
The alternative, the rock.
the rock,
Okay.
that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. But we have talented people here that that they push positive vibes. You know what I mean? And you could see it in their talent, and you could see it in their expression that
Mhm.
that if they were given the exposure, they could really, really, really go far. Um, Another guy that I had the pleasure of meeting when I was studying in Trinidad to get called to the bar.
Mhm.
Father Phyllis,
Mhm.
right? And Father Phyllis, he's a very talented individual.
Is a local artist?
He's a local artist.
Okay.
Yes.
We did for Bajan night, we did a skit,
Mhm.
right? We did a skit. And when I tell you that this guy is hilarious,
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
he is hilarious and he's good with his music. And when I think back about, like just meeting these people that they have a positive influence on you, because when I first met Phil, right, he probably doesn't even remember me now, but when I first met Phil, I would have never thought that he was into music,
Mhm.
because I think he was into like videography or something like that. And then one day I think he just drops Brawling. I think that was his first song. Drops Brawling. And I mean, like, what's going on here? This
A different guy.
this is
Mhm.
Sam Phillips,
Mhm.
Sam Phil, and I tell people, listen, if you have an avenue that can distress, whether it's music, whether it's, maybe just even sitting down and watching a series, um, because we have Bajan creators here who delve into comedy too, like Zen,
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
Watching Zen sometimes I listen to my movie because he is also hilarious.
Mhm.
You get me? So I just tell people just pop in your pods, find some music, keep it local, watch a funny skit, you get me? And try to distress. Because the action that you might take alternatively to that might jam you up for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
that is not what you want. You don't want that record. You don't even want to lose those years off your life. So I just tell my young people, just find that avenue. Find it, even if you find the space and you create it yourself, or you
Mhm.
listen to other creators. Just find it. Just don't delve into the alternative.
So you mentioned positive music, uplifting music, but most young people today, what we hear on the radios are like bashment soca.
No,
We're not hearing music that uplift us.
to be honest, I don't have a problem with the bashment soca, I think that comes now with since I realized that our culture has become more globalized. It's been how should I say, influenced by outside global influences.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously now they say that life imitates art. Right. I believe that listening to that type of music now must come with a set of emotional intelligence, because you don't want to listen to music and then act out on it. So then you have to ask yourself, who are the role models in your life? You understand me? You can have a Brutal Crank Star, you can have a Lead Pipe as a favorite artist, you understand me? And they do push that type of music, right? And I listen to them as well too, and I have no problem with their music. But it's up to the individuals now who, like say the fathers, the mothers, the teachers, you understand me, to hold children and hold those young people, and and show them that, while this music it pushes a certain message, still you have to be grounded in knowing that this is something that is just creative. It is fantasy. You understand me? These artists are not going to pick up a weapon and go and shoot somebody.
No.
Because it's going to, in a sense, mess up their livelihood. So you have to separate the art from the reality.
But the reality is, to what you're saying, the reality is violent music is what's selling.
Yes.
It is.
And
Violent,
it's sad.
violent and sex.
Yes, because when you just listed Brutal. Brutal is one of my favorite artists, but I love the song that he have, Progress. So my morning routine, I will listen to Progress from Brutal. And then after Progress, I listen to Chieftain, Believe in Myself. And I also listen to one song from Vibes Cartel, which is a new song. He's speaking about God.
Right.
God is the greatest.
Yeah.
So every morning, those are the 3 songs that I tune into.
So you are saying that you would like these artists to produce more positive, uplifting music lyrically?
I would like we as a society to stop pushing violent music, stop buying violent music, and embrace artists when they be creative in music that is gonna help us. Because example, the same 3 songs I just mentioned, those songs don't really get as much airplay. But when you hear the song about shooting and killing,
that's what's being played.
That's what's being played, and that's where you can get the royalties from.
So I think it's the appetite of society, because I listen to rap and hip hop, and I more listen to that probably than anything else. There's an artist named Lil Baby, right? And his songs, it delves into that street life and that street culture, right? But he did a song with Kurt Franklin, We Will, right? And when I tell you that song is so inspirational, coming from somebody who came from that street life, because it shows you that these men have the ability to
go on a better path.
They're not. I wouldn't call it like a better path, but they can delve into a different type of creativity, different type of positivity. You understand me? And I'm not going to come and tell someone how to make their bread and butter, right? But what I will say is that there are avenues that are needed to uplift our youth. And we need more creative output that tells our youth that, you don't need to go down this path, or you don't need to pick up this weapon, or you don't need to snatch that purse. You get me? That rather than say, I can lick off the head plate, the head piece, or whatever, you know what I mean? You understand me? Tell them that you can, you will, you are.
Yes.
You understand me?
Positive affirmations.
You understand these types of things that, man. And as a youngster growing up, I had a praying grandmother and a praying mother. When I came out of school, right, I easily could have gone down that path. You understand me? And I was wondering, and I achieved late, but I was wondering if, like, when I was younger, right, if I had more positive influences in terms of, like, people telling me you are, you will be, you can be, you understand me, how much sooner would I have gotten to my destination?
You find that in this society right now, the words that younger individuals are hearing are more negative than positive?
I believe it's more negative than positive,
Mhm.
right? And I believe that it can be more positive
Mhm.
than negative, right? And you just got to find that avenue where you can identify with the youth, because you can't identify with the youth if you don't listen to what they listen to. You understand me? I have two young individuals in my life. I call them my children. They're not my children, right? But I call them my children.
Mhm.
There's one named Carrie J, right?
Mhm.
She's 18.
Mm.
Other one named Jaden.
Okay.
Carrie J is push it in my head all the time. You're an unk.
Mhm.
You got unk status
Uh-huh.
at this point in time,
Mhm.
right? But when we sit down, we talk about music or we talk about anime. You understand me?
Mhm.
We connect. We connect. So the older people now, or the older generation now, if you want to connect with the young people, you have to connect with them on their level.
Mhm.
So you can't expect them to come up here, right? You can't expect them to come up here when you think on an intellectual capacity. You're up here, and they may be just here slightly. If you want to connect with somebody, sometimes you have to come down here. And that was advice that I had gotten from Dirty Android. Anybody remember that name?
Yeah. Dirty Android. Yeah.
Dirty Android did the PE, the
Mhm.
physical education program with me. And I remember there was a situation I had in my head where something had happened, and me and this person was at loggerheads, and I could not agree with this person. And he sat me down with there and he said, Damien, you're an intelligent guy, but sometimes you need to dumb it down. Sometimes rather than being up here, trying to get somebody up here, come down here. And then if you come down here, then
Their
maybe
level.
you can carry them up here.
All right. We have a comment online from Camhar. I think when more effort, money, and resources were sent to our community centers, we seem to have had better outcomes. So, Cavil, could you talk to us about the absence of the community centers and how they're negatively affecting our communities?
Well, when it was coming up, we had a few community centers. We had Spikestone Community Center. Then there was Western Community Center. St. James Community Center, where Danny Hayes had a group called Youth, especially Youth Expression, Youth Northern Expression. And lots of young people used to go there every time, and he had his practices to be a part of what he was doing. Whether dance or drumming. Danny was instrumental in developing arts in the North. And since those centers have been closed, you find that the art forms start to drift and die. Now we have Western Community Center. I saw that just a few weeks ago. I can't believe it in the community center.
Yeah.
Dilapidated. It's awful. And you have young people in that community. I believe that you should use the center. They can't use the center anymore. So therefore,
they're just being idle. Yeah.
And then you have the center in basketball. I don't know if that's being used, but then you have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you have crane wherever there's, there's a community center, you have crane, and then I'm saying that we can get these community practitioners, to go there and do things in this center. There's a lot of community practitioners in St. Peter, St. James, wherever part is. And then I can get young people into the centers and and develop them and keep them away from
All right, we have another comment from Lemuel Tell. Does the panel feel that drumming comes naturally to children? If so, how can it be channeled in a positive direction?
drumming. Well, The drum is very important. If you are in a band, there's no drum, there's no movement. You know? So the drum is primary, the primary sound of all existence. You must, if you don't hear that heartbeat,
Yeah.
you don't hear that heartbeat. There's no life. So the drum must be heard. It's important. Without the drum, there's nothing. Without movement, there's no existence.
Well said. So, Dale, how does the creative expression impact society?
Creative expression impacts society in so many ways, good and bad. Because the reason why I said bad, let me go highlight bad. So creative expression would have a negative influence based on the kind of music, which is music talking about violence and killing. So that creative expression would then get into the minds of the young people to actually act on what they heard in this music. When realistically, the people that sing in this music, this is the only way they can make money. They have to sing this kind of music in order to get performances, airplay.
But why would they think that this is the only type of music that they can produce to make money?
Because
you are asking for positive music.
Yeah.
He's asking for positive music. So why would they think that that's what's needed?
Because in this climate right now, it is harder for these people to make a living from singing positive music.
Yeah.
So how many persons, so when you have a positive song, how many churches, schools will pay you for this piece? To perform this piece. So when we look at the flip side of the coin, when these youngsters sing violent music, the facts, the cruises, the radio, the DJs on the radio want that players. So then these guys sad to say, get me, sing this kind of music to get exposure. And then you would then see certain artists then change the style, the style and the way they sing. So it has a positive influence and it also has a negative influence.
Kamhar is saying in the US, it is known that record producers are slow to reward contracts to artists promoting positive music. The more dirty and disrespectful, the faster and bigger the contracts.
Facts. Facts. So that's why I said it plays, it's two sides of the coin. So there are persons that are in poverty. You know, they might have a female that is a singer. You know, she's very creative. Sad to say she have to sing music about cheating and being this way and wearing these, you know, wearing these kind of to provide for her family. But she might not be doing that. She might be the housewife that is fearful. But the only way to make money or to contribute to her household, she have to sing that kind of music.
Yeah, for example,
Yeah.
like Vice Cartel, he was saying about having multiple women, and he's married. And the youngsters are looking at his music videos, seeing 3 and 4 different women around him, you know, drinking alcohol, smoking, etc., a gun in the waist, and that's what they think is life. But in the reality, he has a wife. Yeah. But this type of music can only be promoted effectively if we choose to participate, if we choose to listen. You're asking for positive music, so why do we continue?
Let me make that correction. I don't think Vibes is married. It's not.
He is.
Yes.
Not married, but he's
engaged?
in a committed relationship.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, he's in a committed
What we
relationship.
will call then a common law relationship.
A common law relationship.
Okay.
Which is basically marriage.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is basically marriage.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
So Damien, how does the creative expression, in your opinion, affect society?
because I want to be careful where I say this, right? Because for me, creative expression is about protests. I link it, I correlate it to protests. You understand me? To me, the artist is the rebel. The artist is someone who's going to make his money unconventionally. You understand me? He's not going to get the normal 9 to 5. He's not going to get the standard blue collar job or even the white collar job. So the artist is the rebel, and his creative expression is a form of protest. And then his protest now kind of influences society in the way that, you know, he expresses himself. Because let's be real, most music today is either violent or it's misogynistic, right? And when you have individuals who might put out let's say a misogynistic song, disrespecting women, I have 10 women under my belt, you get me, and I can get any woman I want. The music video comes out, it's flashy, you know, it's flashy, and we see it as young people, and we want to emulate it. That is where the role model comes in now. The fathers, the mothers, the whoever, the sportsman, the individual that's in the young person's life that keeps them grounded and tell them, as I said, this is not reality. Or if it is reality, right? If it is reality, it's not one that should be engaged in, because then you open up yourself to, like say, STDs. You open up yourself to possible violence. You know, people target you. They're individuals now. There's a serious thing now where that some people can't even go on live in the United States because they're targets. They flash their gold or their platinum, and these people target them because they're seen as easy targets. So you have to have that role model in their life to tell them, well, you know, it's nice to watch these music videos. It's nice to probably see these things. You know, but just realize that this is not an avenue that really and truly is profitable, and it's not a lifestyle that should be lived, but just for consuming the entertainment value, right? That is all it is, just entertainment, basically.
Okay. So Cavil, what do you think the role of the NCF is in this whole entire situation when it comes to the arts and industry, culture industry?
I tell you that the NCF is doing a good job under the leadership of Karen Roberts.
In what way?
Well, Karen is making sure that she get all the artists, but she's known. She's a known person. She believes in getting the job done correct. You know, I've known her for a number of years. I must say that she's trying her best to make sure that the NCF understand the artists, understand what they need, and she is trying to show that everyone is on board. And there's no no antagonism or anything among the artists. And I find the NCF is doing a wonderful job getting out there. And again, too, here during the COVID and so on, the NCF have been calling the artists to apply for grants and so on.
Okay.
Them in the business. That's important. It's not only important, but I'm good of the NCF to do these things. Now, the things that they can look at, develop the artists. I know the groups that need help, see what they can do to help them develop their products. Because some of us today are still begging, and it shouldn't be like that.
Begging, you mean begging for work?
Begging for work. Because there's some artists that are begging. And the artist is very edgy when you're not getting something that they want. Mentally, as we find out. But not me. I'm good, but I know how to make it. but there's some that out there who are asking when this we're going to look in our direction. No one is looking at, no one is noticing us. So I believe that the players need to be looked at.
Okay, so what would you say would be the biggest challenge that the culture groups have in Barbados?
They need assistance so they can develop their products, so they can get the, like, for me, I'm a drummer. I've been drumming from the time I was 30 years old.
Okay.
I'm almost 100. So I need to pass on my knowledge to the young people there. And to do that, we need assistance, getting the instruments, so we can go into the communities and teach drumming. So we can go into the community teach dance. So we can go into the community teach drama. All of these components that we need to do. And so we can pull these young people back and change the whole perspective, on culture. But the direction that they're going in is not good for us.
Yeah.
And it's not conducive to their development.
And you think that culture is the way out?
To develop. As Nelson Mandela said years ago, that the youth find new horizons to our culture. And culture is where to go. And we need to really step up.
So do you think that the NCF is doing enough to push the youth in the direction of, the culture and the arts?
They're trying.
Are they doing enough?
They're trying.
Well, for me, I personally don't think the NCF is doing a good enough job. I can commend them for what they have done so far. So far, they are doing okay. But if I rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, I think there's space for improvement.
Yeah.
Yes, so they're doing a good job thus far. The NCF put a lot of good programs in place. However, I think it's time we move culture from a low level to a high level. Reason why I say this, I just want to say my condolences to Rihanna and the Fenty family. I know Mr. Ronald Fenty personally, so my condolences. And I want to say that with we having a star like Rihanna,
Yeah, a global star.
you get me? I believe that the NCF should have a platform that we can
Produce.
expose more creatives. We shouldn't only have a Rihanna, one person. I think that we should have a platform that we can have scouts coming in from overseas every single year, offering different deals to locals. We have a fantastic culture background. In addition to that, if we are pushing tourism, I think that we need to create workshops that can help artists. In these workshops, you focus on R&B, the hip hop. You also focus on drumming, dance, and then you also teach them etiquette. Etiquette in terms of how to manage themselves, market themselves. You teach them, the whole skill as it relates to producing and completing the finished product. However, then make relationships with the US, with different places on the outskirts that we can get scouts coming.
Export the product.
And then
I would say though that I have seen several Bajan artists frequenting to England. You mentioned Chief Ding.
Chief Ding.
And who's the other guy that is normally with Chief Ding? A brown skinny guy with his hair plait in like two singles. But I saw them in England. They seem to have like a record deal down there. So the exporting is going on.
Artists?
Yes, ideal. Yeah.
Yes. Correct.
So they do have that link.
But NCF ain't help there with that link.
For sure.
So that's the problem. NCF ain't help there with that link. I believe after we had such an amazing talent, which is Rihanna, I believe after that, the government, NCF, somebody should have put a platform or build a relationship that we can expose enough of our young people to record deals. Record deals don't only come in the form of singing. You could have a deal as it relates to drumming that tour the whole world doing a floor show. As opposed to only focusing on the tourism sector. Tourism sector is from December 15th to April 15th, 6 months.
Yeah.
So then
outside of that.
Outside of that is when you crop over.
I think the CEO at the NCF is doing a good job. She's looking at trying to bring, this from my perspective. Come on. Be honest. She's trying her best, and I must say that she have a whole team to manage, and I've seen her managing, on the spot. She's good.
The institution.
Yeah, I've seen it. So now that I've learned, what is the NCF doing for the individuals? Yeah. Well, first you have to know what the role of the NCF. They have to let people know what is their role and helping the people, the cultural people in the country, practitioners.
But wouldn't you say that the role of the NCF would be to educate individual citizens of what our culture is and spread that culture throughout the schools?
Yes.
And then go from the schools into the wider communities and then on to the tourists.
So.
That, in my opinion, that should be the role of the NCF.
And also what the NCF should do to try and avoid, having our people, express themselves in a vulgar way. I find when you drunk up over and so on, people you can see on the roads misbehaving in the worst form.
So we have a comment from Lemuel Tell. The NCF should not be doing anything that can be construed as less than positive. It should have developmental role and not be the business of making money. He speaks of development, but a lot of young people don't know what our culture is.
No.
So we are not developing. They're not doing that job of developing the culture.
Now, again, I think always say values are more important than variables. And we look at variables all the time. We put in variables over values.
I'm still in that.
And
I'm still in that.
When we look at all people, people still say as valuable. Watch, material things are valuable. And values just turn away. And this is where culture plays a very important role in our lives. And we are not looking at culture. We are not developing our culture. I was saying to someone today, I mean, growing up, everybody in my neighborhood used to go for one another. You could go down, look after my daughter, my son, they come back. They will be looked at. They can be fed to. Today, people don't look at one another. They don't respect one another. And all this is culture. So the practices that we had before
are gone.
The values that we had before that we were taught are gone. Now you find the landship. One time the landship would look at something, something
prestigious,
something that ain't worthwhile.
Okay.
People look at one another years ago. If you live in a little house and a toilet a mile away from your house, as not valuable.
Okay.
Today, you can live in the biggest house, drive 3 cars, and so you're more important than the man that is there doing things.
Yeah.
That live and to encourage. But that guy that live in East Bay, obviously, so they're bandits. They don't care nothing about our culture.
Mm.
The man that is trying to promote our culture, people are looking no one. So the culture needs to be looked at. And I believe the NCF role is to look at, develop our culture.
Okay, I am not familiar, but is the NCF, can the NCF be used to censor the type of music that is being produced and being played on the airwaves?
Yes, it can be used to censor the music.
Do they normally do that?
I don't think so. And that means that, many persons and so on that we can do. I believe that all the government have to be serious to it. Have to, and the educational system got to be serious to it. The education ministry got to be serious to it. When you have children born on these buses, and the worst, low, offensive music. What are you doing allowing this practice over the years to continue? It needs to be stopped. The music is offensive. And I don't call it music. I call it nastiness.
Noise.
But we refer to it as noise, you know? And people love it. You have a rap, you know, out there destroying the good products of our country. Because when we go, we need these young people. So we need to develop them. And you got to self rap. You know?
Careful.
Sorry, but you know, I'm saying, sing some songs. I mean, and songs that are not conducive to the development of our young people. So what we can do?
You speak about developing the young people, but how can we use arts? I'm not just speaking about music, because arts is not just music alone.
No.
You have painting, you have visual arts, dancing, all kinds of other things, drama. How can this be used to develop personally? How did it help you to develop personally? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were still talking to Cavil. You know? No.
No problem. How can the art form be used to develop an individual personally?
The art form, it can be used in a positive tool. Example. So if I had funding behind me, what I would do with the community centers is put different instructors in the community centers on the evening. So then with these instructors can focus on producing beats. Different centers, different programs you're going to offer as relates to art. And you would then see now, once we have these community centers in operation with persons doing mixing, mastering, DJing sessions, writing, dance, ballet, you name the arts, painting, visual arts, acting, the whole works. You know, so once we have the community centers open and proper funding in that, this is how then we can then develop individuals, because then we can get the young girls from off the road, from being in a situation that they have to depend on men. You know, and then we would then pull the young guys from have to depend on a life of crime. So, look, example, the song Balance. I love that song. It's a nice song.
Who's the artist?
Correct.
Never heard of it.
But that song is not an appropriate song, because he's singing about, you know, having multiple women and all of that. So I said that to say is that how can we get the young people to be of substance to our society through the arts? We then need funding, and we need to support through the same community centers, put programs in place, develop the skills, and then create job opportunities. So that's how we can use the arts to develop people, as opposed to only focusing on the garbage that the people sing to make money,
Yeah.
which is killing multiple women,
Mhm.
drugs, because I believe, right, if the government and NCF put more focus as it relates to culture and arts, I think then we can then implore young people to want to be a part of arts. Because let me be real, a lot of our talent will leave Barbados and go overseas, pursue their life, and then don't ever come back to Barbados. If they do come back, they just come back to make money, but they can start their life on the outside. So we need then to focus on our young people, because young people want positive role models.
Mhm.
So there's no father figures in a lot of the homes. So who do I look up to? I then have to end up on the block looking at either the men on the block, or I end up leaving school and then lying on the van, joyriding on the van.
Mhm.
So then that's my influence, either the van drivers in that culture or the men on the block and that culture.
Mhm.
So then they can say, man, I can't sing bashment soca because NCF stop it
Mhm.
as a young person.
But the issue is not the rhythm.
Is correct.
Bashment soca is a rhythm.
It's a rhythm.
The issue is the lyrics.
They can control that.
Yes.
They can control that.
Mhm.
They can keep the bashment soca,
Mhm.
but control the content,
Mhm.
because you are the creator of that. So then the young people can say, well, I can be creative. So the only way to try to make money is by singing violence, sad to say. I don't promote that kind of music. I prefer to listen to Progress from Brutal, and I prefer to listen to the Stifling, Believe in Myself, and what was the song again by Five Squad Have Ramon? God is the greatest. And I love that song. I listened to that song 7 times this morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you remember in the 70s and so on, 60s, 70s, you had my men saying song, the wrong thing. My girlfriend promised to give me something. But
Really?
this one, but those songs that were sung back in the times are a lot different to the songs that been sung today.
Okay. So, Damien, in your opinion, how can the arts be used to develop someone personally?
Okay, so this is what I believe. We gotta focus on the different spectrum of intelligences in regards to the art, because obviously there's linguistics, there's arithmetic, there's spatial, there's body kinesthetic, and if you can create, say, like, I guess it's from the ground up, a grassroots program probably started at school, which focuses on the different types of intelligences and how the arts can basically evolve from that. If you can provide that avenue that caters to everybody's types of intelligence, then the arts will eventually spring from that. Create that program that starts from young, you foster it, and then you push it through to secondary level, even through to the tertiary level. And then you just provide the avenues and the space, because it makes no sense. It makes no sense throwing money at a problem with no plan. There's no sense, it makes no sense throwing money at a problem where there's no space to express yourself. So then it has to be a holistic approach. When you get the programs on board, then you give them the space to create. When you give them the space to create, you give them the space to perform. And then you give them the incentives now when they perform, that you could say, well, the competitions or the festivals, like whether it's a music festival, whether it's a film festival, whether it's a spoken word festival, whatever it is that they need to just get out there and expose themselves. And you can probably even market that through your tourism product. Barbados is a space of creatives. Come here, watch us. This is what we do. This is what we can. This is how we perform. And then you invite those types of individuals now who are also interested in watching that type of performances and so on, and provide avenues for people to go out and express themselves. Maybe bring in individuals, different types of producers, directors, so on, and so that they can take in our art forms. And once you provide that sort of incentives and space and the education and so on, then you can create the individual, you create the creative. Because I'm heavily influenced by Barrow's principles. you invest in your people. Our people are our resource. And once you invest in them, then obviously they will produce. And once they produce, then they will bring the spotlight to Barbados. And then that's how you foster a culture, a unique culture that will be recognized in the region.
Okay. What do you think is the role of the media when it comes to culture?
The role in the media is basically to expose. You know, you provide the exposure, you provide the space in terms of like the time. When you showcase these things for people to see, send it out, broadcast it out. You know, so just inundate us with as much things as possible on television, on radio, positive vibes, positive creation. You understand me? Where the youth can hear it, they can see it, and say, you know what, I want to get involved in that. So for me, the media, their role is exposure. It's not hard. It's not hard. Just keep pushing out those creative avenues where that people can see it.
Yeah.
And people can then say, you know what, that is what I want to do. And we will attract the youth.
I remember in school days on CBC, you will normally see things like Bridgetown Bus Stop, different comedy shows, etc. But you don't see that now. So CBC was a medium that was used to showcase what our culture was.
Anybody remember Andisa Andrele?
No.
Nobody knows Andisa Andrele? Oh my God. Yes. Andisa Andrele was spoken word, right? And am I that old? Wow. And this Andrele, he's a spoken word artist, right? And every now and then, you know, probably in between when Days of Our Lives used to come on and maybe the news or whatever, or just before that, you would see Andisa Andrele performing, right? And I'm very sure that Andisa Andrele, he influenced a lot of people who wanted to get into spoken word. You get me? So this is what you need to do, as I said in media. Expose, newspaper, expose, TV, expose, radio, expose. You get me? And the more you expose our culture or you expose the arts, then more people will be attracted by it.
Yeah. So we had CBC back then, but that is not used anymore. So the youth are not seeing visually what our culture is. So what do you think the role of the media is?
I agree. I believe that the role of the media is to expose, but I think Morning Barbados is a good show, but then we need to now be a little bit more creative. So like for media, bring the media to the actual streets.
Okay.
Get media in the streets where people are comfortable in their art form. The artists, which doing the different murals, the actors, the dancers, the drummers, go in the actual neighborhoods and the community, do a youth vibes, something in the community, and help push this raw talent. So the role of the media in this time, Morning Barbados is good because that is going to cater to, those individuals that rise early. But young people not going to be connected to Morning Barbados because young people connected to social media,
Instagram.
But TikTok.
But there are NCF is on Instagram, NCF is on Facebook. CBC have both Instagram and Facebook social media handles. So they can still use these mediums as a way of reaching the youth. But these programs are not out there for the youth to see on any of these platforms.
Like we have to bring ourselves to their level, understand their needs, and then create a solution for that. So, the same Instagram. I believe if they can come into the communities and let me go from door to door and looking at raw talent, that is gonna have the buy-in of the people, because everybody will say, yo, I want that opportunity, boy, to go on that show, to display my thing. Because you know why? You gonna got communities reaching out to you. Come, we got sign over here. Come, we got sign over here. So then you're gonna create a space where people now gonna want to be creative. Example, I for years, persons that in the school sports, started the chanting thing.
Yeah.
And only last year they decided to put a little $5,000 in the pool, $2,500 in the pool for the best jingle.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, I know that.
So I'm saying, go the media, go in these places where the talent is really at its peak, and get the footage, because, like I said, it's okay for us to bring in people. Why not flip the script and let me go to the people?
Yeah. So the title of the show is Stifling the Creative Expression. When you look around at our society right now, we're asking people to be creative. We're asking people to express their thoughts, etc. Do you think that the creatives are being stifled right now, Cavil?
When you ask, we wrote in the media just now, years ago, we had people from the media who visit groups like John City, who is from the Nation. They had someone who is from the African. From the groups, when they have practices, they will have any events, you should come in, elect them. And then also remember, when my group had just started in 87, we had an interview at CBC by Sarah Roberts. She interviewed our group.
Okay.
And let people know what Dance National is and what it's about is soon. In 1989, we had an interview with her. And the thing is that coming out to the artists, and as you said, the artists are being stifled. Yes, I would say so. Why they're being stifled is because there's no news for them to express, their work, or to showcase their work. This is why you don't find many young people getting involved in the arts.
Okay.
But there's no purpose to get involved.
No purpose.
No purpose. Why should you get involved in the arts? It's not benefiting me. It's not beneficial to me. You ask a guy to come to drum or dance, whatever. So, what are you going to pay me? One thing people want to do, people come to you and ask, how much do I have to pay to be a part of your group? No, you have people come in and they ask you, how much are you going to pay me to dance?
But being part of the arts, it doesn't only have to be financially. I may want to join a group just to learn drumming because I genuinely want to know how to drum. Or I may join a group to learn to play the piano because I want to learn to play the piano. But Dale, do you think that the artists are being stifled in Barbados?
Yeah, I honestly believe that our local artists are being stifled. Again, Bashment Soca is a rhythm, and we have so many creatives in Bashment Soca. So why not put stipulations in place and censor the music as it relates to what is delivered in the competition? In addition to that, we don't have a lot of opportunity for R&B artists. We have some of the best voices in Barbados that sings R&B.
I believe that.
So where is the platform? How are we helping those females? How are we helping those males that has that voice?
Okay. Damien, do you think that our artists are being stifled?
I believe so. And I believe that more can be done to help them to express themselves on a wider market. As Cavil was saying, there aren't enough avenues. You know, there are some. You know, I'm not going to say that there aren't any. Right, there are some, but I believe that more can be done. I believe that in a sense too that there's something going on where that certain social commentary is being censored.
Yeah.
Right, and I believe that's something that should not happen, because social commentary is Barbados' way, the artist's way to communicate the issues that are going on in Barbados. You understand me? And if you cannot communicate what is going on in Barbados through social commentary, then how then are you then to express that minor protest, even though that it might have been done on the stage and you might possibly win some money and stuff like that, but that was still your expression by way of protest. And if we get to a state where now that even social commentary is being censored because they might have a criticism here about this particular administration or this particular policy or this particular person, then we're going down a very dangerous avenue. It's likened to places like North Korea or Russia or even Afghanistan. China.
Yeah.
You understand me? And we don't want to end up like that. But it just takes for just the crack, you understand me? And for us to ignore it, and then for it to just damn to break, and then all of a sudden no, you can't even express yourself or criticize anybody. So we need to address that as soon as possible.
There is a song, Spot the Light. Let's take a listen to it right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Aye, aye, aye. Oh yeah, yeah. Aye, aye, aye. Walaka. Can't drive on the road at night, cause you come with your light so bright, like you want blind me for spite. It is overbearing. Me and you never had no war. Why you spot the light on me for? Is it accidental or you just so uncaring? Every day you bout here complaining all the things that ain't going right. From now on I will be explaining which place you could spot the light. Spot the light in the parliament and see who is looking out for you or barely fooling we. Spot the light in the right places and find out who is on the people's side and who's selling out. Don't spot it on me, you joke. I don't be at no port when guns coming in. I am sure cowboys and Indians, no, don't spot it on me, you idiot. When taxpayers' money waste, don't spot it in my face. You better spot the light man who run the place. I don't run the government, I know if the computer. Don't spot it on me, Bozy. Spot the light on the BLT. Oh yeah, yeah. Aye, aye, aye. Walaka. Blinding you with the LEDs. Them ZRs doing as they please. Don't tell the authorities I feel violated. Go spot them in the treasury, then you will see if the economy living off borrowed money that IMF dictated. Light is a great disinfectant. Use it, don't abuse it at night, cause all that hide in the darkness must come out in the light. Spot the light in the board meetings and see who is representing you, or the rich minority. I want you spot the light in the right places and find out who is standing up for you or just running them out. Don't spot it on me, no way. I don't have any clout, no power, no say, bouquet, and I ain't got no land to give away. Don't spot it on me, you idiot. One for you, another one quick. Don't target me one bit. You better spot the light on the cabinet. I may drive and get annoyed. Check my front and touch your boy. Don't spot it on me, you insane. You spot the light in the wrong lane. Why, yeah. Aye. Walaka. When you see me on the road at night, make sure that you dim your light. I give you valuable insight. Time for activation. Aim the light, aim it all about. Human cockroaches running out. Places you would never dream about. Need illumination. Wickedness reside in high places. Time for you to make wrong things right. Corruption is hide in dark spaces. In Barbados, let there be light. Spot the light on the police, you can choose. Some are real professional, some protect the shoes. Spot the light in the courtrooms and find out why them hardened criminals bout here walking bout. Don't spot it on me, you're free. I can't give a big speech and got the whole world, so I'm hazed. All now I still getting praise. Don't spot it on me, you're free. I ain't looking to get a George Street. I know who get cussed or beat. Spot the light out in Rowe Street. I never tried to meet with Trump or get sent fed up man to jam. Don't spot it on me, yeah good. Spot the light in a Lara Court. Crime out here getting worse. Spot the light on the AG first. I ain't laughing out none. Spot the light on the Kaisonian. Admiral my degree. Spot the light by my friend Gabby. I know what good for my health. Spot the light by your blinking self.
Right, so this is a social commentary song that was released this year by Classic. And this song is heavily critical on the government and certain things that have taken place in the country. It should be noted that this song is currently banned on CBC. So my question is, why would CBC go of their way to ban this song? Cavil?
Yeah, no, we know this is something that has been happening for years.
Mm-hmm.
This administration have been banning songs that speak about them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the issue there with Marcerise, a dance piece that she performed magnificent, which has been banned as well.
Yeah.
Anything that speaks against this government.
And values.
And values. This is our values are more important than variables.
Mm-hmm.
This government is afraid when it's being pressured by the people. And you see, we have to be uncomfortable because they are too comfortable. And this song that Classic is singing, and we time going back, when Cavil songs were banned, Granny songs were banned.
These were songs that were against the current government?
Against this administration.
Barbados Party.
They can't handle criticism. They can't handle it. So this is why, remember when there was so much Sandy?
It wasn't banned.
It wasn't banned. The DIP didn't ban, but DIP don't ban songs.
Freedom of expression.
Freedom of expression. And the artist, this is what is the role of the artist. Social commentary is used to tell the stories and things that are happening that are affecting people. So why ban it? It's truth. You don't ban truth. You allow truth to prevail. So government take the criticism.
So would you say that the CBC is working on behalf of the government by banning this song from being aired?
No, CBC belongs to the people. And the government is the people. The administration is not the government. The administration is there to work for the people. And if you're not doing the people work, then the people have a right to remove you and put someone there that can do their work. So banning that song is wrong.
But it's no longer banned. It has been released now by CBC.
Well,
but it was banned before.
But we are happy to know that it has been released. And it's not banned anymore. But CBC must understand that it belongs to the people. And the people have a right to speak out. So CBC have no right to ban anything that the people speak about. That is true.
So Dale, what are your thoughts about this song being held back?
What is the topic for tonight?
Stifling the creative expression.
You can repeat it one more time for me.
Stifling the creative expression.
This is a perfect example of stifling creative expression.
Yes.
This song is so creative.
Mhm.
And as a creative, when you want to express how you feel about the current climate, you put together a masterpiece. This is a masterpiece.
Of course.
And it is disappointing that the administration would go to such length to stop the progress of this song. But you would not stop the outside artists that singing about mollies
No,
from performing.
Yeah.
no.
You will not stop the outside artists that singing about all of the guns from performing.
Yeah.
You know, so
But you will bring them in.
you would
and
bring
pay
them in. Yeah. You would bring them in and you know, we would inject per diem. We would give them hotel accommodation,
Mhm.
3 square meals, taxi to and fro, you know, full VIP style.
Yeah.
You know, but we're gonna ban a classic. Literally, you know? We're gonna ban a classic. You know, so like it would then stop me from wanting to sing something that is positive and encourage me to sing about guns and
Yeah.
mollies and women.
Mm.
So you see the message is sending to the young people. This is a positive song. You get me?
But we don't want it out there.
No.
But
Mm.
shh,
Yeah.
don't spot the light, turn it off.
Yeah.
So that's what they literally want to do, turn off that song. But God have a mysterious way of working out things. And when he wrote that song, when all creatives, you know, receive that vision came from the creator.
Mhm.
And they create that product.
Mhm.
So he is feeling that, and he created a masterpiece. And it remind me of Russia and these places that you can't express how you feel. So it is not a good message to young people.
Yeah.
Because why should I sing positive something or something that is criticizing what the government is doing, and then it's going to be banned, or I'm going to get fight down? I could well sing but all of the drugs, the guns, and the partying, because you know what?
I felt it with.
Them gonna promote it, and they got me singing at them things.
Damien, what are your thoughts?
It is your constitutional right to freedom of expression. What I will say, right, is that recently this administration has come across as a crime administration.
Mhm.
Solve a crime, hard on the things. You understand me? So
Mhm.
you have to point out where you see foolishness.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Mhm.
And if a social commentary points out, because there have been quite a few social commentaries that have been very critical of past administrations.
Mhm.
And they were not banned because obviously that is what it was. That is what our culture was. Calypso was basically something that you sang, you expressed yourself, and you brought awareness to issues, societal issues.
Yeah.
You get me? Who could forget certain songs that spoke about the 8% cut? You understand me? Who forget songs that spoke about Jack don't want me to live on my beach.
Yeah.
You understand?
So if I didn't hear about the issue on the radio or the TV, I received the message and heard about it through songs.
Through songs.
Yeah,
you
through
understand?
music.
So then when you take the stance now that you can't even take a little criticism because the song is brilliant, but it's mild in a way in its criticism.
Mhm.
It's truthful, but then still in a sense kind of mild compared to other social commentary that I've heard back in the day. You get me?
Mhm.
So if
this is what got you afraid to let it play out in the public sphere, then you definitely have a problem.
Spot the light.
Spot.
There is an interesting comment here online. Someone mentioned that the song was held back or banned while the by-election in St. James North was going on. This is Ivar Taylor.
Interesting.
He said it was banned during the by-election. That's why. Interesting. What are your thoughts, Cavil, on that?
Well, you know, I don't know if you all can go back to the days when Serenada used to sing songs attacking the DLP, and he used to win too. His songs were never banned. Then they had the cotton situation. They were frightening. Who was the minister? Scott, yes. Senator saying about that. Say Stifling there. He's saying also 1 step forward and 2 steps backward. All of those things, and they were never banned. So, and there were elections happening, and those songs were allowed to play it. But anything with this government is possible.
Dale, what are your thoughts about it being banned while the by-election was going on?
Honestly, the thing is bias. It's bias because that in the by-election, they had influencers blasting the Democratic Labour Party, you know, and I don't think that this song is disrespectful in any way.
So are we going down a very, very slippery slope when it comes to this government, dictatorship, tyranny?
For sure.
This is a government that brought the cybercrime bill.
Now, if this government, right, really had an interest in crime, we would not focus on tin or banning toy guns. We will focus on the port of entry. Let us deal with the real situation, how the guns get in here. Smith and Western don't have a factory here in Barbados.
And they're not manufactured in tinted cars either.
You get me? So like a lot of the violent murders ain't happen and guys pull up in a car with tint. It happened with guys on a motorcycle.
Very true.
You know? So tint can't stop crime. I think tint is that I personally no. That is a diversion that they don't want to deal with the crime, but they can't get the crime handled or addressed.
They don't have any solution.
Oh, you think that this is the worst AG ever?
We have a comment online from Dale Rowe. Blessed the night to the DLP TV viewers, hosts, contributors. This song is a classic and too sweet. Unfortunately, that is what the cyberbullying bill is for, stifling creativity, views, and opinions. Damien, what are your thoughts?
So my thing is you if it walks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it is a duck. When you see people going through certain measures or taking certain measures to, in a sense, silence certain criticisms, you have to call it for what it is. When you see persons implementing bills that criminalizes, in a sense, you know, as you said, the cyber bill, then you must call it what it is. When you see a government engaging in destruction, because my thing is in regards to the issue, is that if there's a mischief that you're trying to curtail, right, you're going to legislate against that. What is that mischief per se? To say that you want to ban things because you want to tackle crime. Crime is an overarching, you understand, set. It's an overarching set. what is the subset then? What is the subset mischief that you're trying to curtail? Just to say crime isn't enough. Is that or is the tint is having tint cards responsible for money laundering?
No.
Is it responsible for say fraud? Is it responsible for, let me say, theft? You get me? Right. So then show the data. How is the data linking the tint to the crime that you're trying to curtail? But then just to say, oh, we're trying to curb crime. What crime? Which crime? What is the crime? The murders? Okay, then the murders. Show the data where it says that tints are correlated to murders. You understand me? How many murders were correlated or as a result of a tinted vehicle? You get me?
Correct.
So then if you can't bring the data and you can't prove what you're saying, then this is a distraction. What I call it is a money grab. Because notice that at the same time that they were talking about tint, they introduced now the civil penalty where that the minister who doesn't have the power, who doesn't have the power to come and say that, okay, this is we're gonna choose this particular mischief and say you can pay a civil fine for it. That is the judicial, that is the part of the judiciary. You get me? That is a judicial process, not the minister's purview. That's in his purview, not the minister. That is the power of the law courts. You get me, to decide what the civil penalty will be for whatever particular mischief you are trying to curtail. You get me? So then when you say, no, oh, you're just gonna pay a small fine for tinted vehicles, it is a money grab. It is just to get money. You understand me? So then when you see these things, you have to call them out for what they are. So that's my feelings on it.
I think if they want to tackle crime, they should look at the primary schools, they should look at the secondary schools, they should look at cost of living. That is the only way for right now. Right now, we should tackle crime. The reason why I say that, they have these boys and girls in school system right now that give in trouble because they're going through a traumatic experience at home. So then we can then put them in a box, categorize them, kick them out of school. When we kick them out of school, where is the opportunity for them to get employment? The only person that is going to employ these youngsters is the man on the block.
Yeah.
Because crime is a social ill. You
Correct.
It's a socioeconomic, it's a socioeconomic ill. You get me? If you can improve the socioeconomic conditions, you get me, of the individuals who might be more susceptible to engaging in crime, then you will improve. You would, in a sense, how should I say? You would then curtail the need for anyone to engage in that type of illicit behavior. Because why is it that most persons engage in crime? It's because they don't have the socioeconomic means or the economic means to survive. So then they engage in behaviors where that they grab a cash, they might snatch a purse, or they try to make money illicitly. If you can improve the conditions where someone can be more financially stable, then they may not engage in crime. It's not a matter of whether their vehicle is tinted. It is the cost of living. It is how that person is living their life. Can they afford to pay their bills? Can they afford to pay their? Can they afford to feed their children? Can they afford to buy school clothes for their children? You understand me? It is about being able to live. It's not about tinted vehicles. So once you improve the socioeconomic standing of society, then you will more than likely curtail the need for an individual to engage in crime.
Right, there's a comment from Campar. The tint is a tax. Saw that truth recently. It's just another method of collecting more of our money, basically. So in the last few minutes, I'll just ask each and every one of you to just, give a conclusion, a little summary of your thoughts about the culture in Barbados. Starting with you, Cavil.
That poverty breeds crime. And culture promotes healthy living. So as long as we understand the people, we understand the culture. And to understand the culture is to understand the people. And right now, we need to go right back to the beginning and look at what we have that we can develop our people and make them good, rounded citizens. And that is going right to the primary schools and reaching them right. You got to target the primary schools.
But know that you said that, I remember when we were in school, you were always encouraged to get involved in a lot of activities to boost your resume when you go to apply for a job. And playing a musical instrument was always one of the things that they encourage you to get involved in, extracurricular activity at school. But these things are not going on right now.
No.
Bill, what are your final thoughts?
I just think that we really need to focus on trying to develop our young people. Not all of our young people will be interested in being doctors, lawyers, financial advisors, politicians, you name it. A lot of our young people just want to express self through dance, spoken word, you name it. We really need to look at creating platforms that we can fully develop these skills so they can make money outside of crop over and the tour season. You know, because realistically speaking, a lot of these entertainers can't get mortgages, can't get cars. A lot of the upcoming entertainers, they have to struggle and pursue employment. So we should focus on creating that platform to help build, you know, their confidence, help build creative ideas, and also be able to market and push them outside of Barbados.
Damien, your final thoughts?
Final thoughts on culture is something that we need to bring life back into. It seems as if like it started to disappear a little bit, right? But we just need to invest in our young people, and through culture, we can maybe, in a sense, inspire them to be more creative and to become creatives. So that is all it is.
All right, my final words to the creatives: keep being innovative, keep expressing yourself, keep your thoughts and your expressions true, stay true to yourself, and never stop expressing yourself the way that you see fit. As we end the show tonight, we're going to play a song. So thank you for joining us this week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good night, and thank you.
God bless.
A husband seek help for a pregnant wife. A tattleless victim dying surely die. And this is global shame. When something simple and plain, kill enough women, have a day every year is the same. And in the decade of the 90s, 1 billion children did born. But millions of them they suffer and die before them reach age 5. And in countries across the globe, children is get abused, they are tortured, abducted and sold and killed by invading soldiers. And you tell me that you were progress. You tell me to look ahead, but all I see is dread. I say all I see, all I see, all I see. Killing enough in Africa land, but them spend enough on them big arms, and the US is not about Star Wars, contra aid, movie stars and secret mission to Mars. And you tell me that the world progress. You tell me to look ahead, but all I see is dread. I say all I see, all I see, all I see. can't import into American ports. While the World Bank put credit squeeze on Latin American countries. Some Peru peasants go cocaine to pay back foreign debt. Now bandits laugh, pirates grin, lords of the global drug ring. And you tell me that the world progress. You tell me to look ahead, but all I see is drain. I say all I see, all I see. I say all I see. So how the world progress? When the rich don't care about the rest, and got the world in a mess. For all I see is drain. I say all I see. Poor people that 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 I say.